Okay, let's get started. I am honoured to introduce our wonderful speaker, Jean-Francois. Jean-Francois is an executive coach and the former chairman of the global board of the International Coach Federation and one of the highest rated WBEC speakers in recent years. He is based in Asia and has been for over 2 decades and has helped over 1,000 executives in 35 countries across 6 continents. By combining Asian wisdom and Western methodology into his coaching, he helps others unleash their potential. And a fun fact and a lovely fact about Jean-Francois is that he is at home now in his special childhood home for the first time in 3 years. And with that, Jean-Francois, I am going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Beth, for your warm welcome and for all you do to give WBEC such a great architecture year in, year out. It's a pleasure to partner with you and an honor too. And thanks everyone for joining from all over the world this year. Again, I'm looking so much forward to our conversation today. You know, every year WBEC comes in with new flavors. So this year I had to come with some new flavors. Last year we discussed the being of the coach. So it was quite the ontological conversation. This year we're going to be more tactical. We're going to discuss fast cars. We're going to discuss lions in the savannah. We're going to discuss Matryoshka doll. Wait for it, right? And Picasso. And most importantly, we are going to have a discussion about how you and me, how we coaches can be alchemists. That means co-create gold with and for our clients. And for that, the first few minutes of a coaching session are critical. That's when we can prep the client to explore in depth what matters most and where's the real goal that we can emerge for their future. So I'd love to start with a story, and it's going to be about fast cars because I promised that much, right? So imagine here we've got a client coming to me and he's very excited and he's telling me, JF, today I have an important objective, right? Because he knows I expect an important objective and he wants one too, right? And the important objective is make a decision about the color of my car. I hesitate between pink and blue. So, question. How much should I be paid if I help this gentleman choose the color of his car? Well, you know, I'm going to say nothing. Why? Because he could get the same service free of charge with his pals at the coffee shop or at the restaurant, right? So now, if I help him dig deeper, and then perhaps after a moment, he tells me this is really about finding a great wife. We've progressed, right? And then if we dig even deeper and he tells me, you know, after all, it's not about just a car or even finding a great wife. It's about me. Am I worthy of being a husband in the first place? Then how much should I be paid? We've reached some goal here, right? Because the outcome of the session is likely to be life-changing for the better. Yeah, so that's what we want to learn together today, taking in your insights and me offering mine. And just before we get started with a short demo, I'd love to share with you something that I believe is really important. We are not in the profession of helping people grow. Now, that's not the job. We are in a much more important profession in some regards, which is to empower people to empower themselves to grow. And it's so important that we have this in mind and in our heart at all times. So just before we go into a short demo, one last thing for the road. I'm not going to give you recipes today, but I've prepared to give you some flavors. You know, there's very little about recipe and models that work really well in coaching, mostly because they distract our attention from the coachee, right? But flavors, yeah, probably. We'll see to that together, right? So that's when I'd love to invite my guest for today, Miss Kevalin Singakam from Thailand, to join live from Bangkok for a short demo. And that short demo is going to be just at the beginning of the session, from the meet and greet moment until that moment where we defined a valuable objective for the session. And I want to say how honored and grateful I am to Miss Tan, that's her nickname in Thai, right? She's extraordinary, and she's the managing director of an extraordinary company called North Star, which I admire a lot. It's a young company, extraordinarily successful, and it manages clients' marketing investments to aim for the highest possible ROI in Thailand. And it's a very people-focused company. So you imagine my delight. Khun Tan, thanks so very much for joining us at the end of your long day today. I'm so...
Hello. Hi. Good morning, I have to say, but for maybe some people here will be good afternoon and good evening. So hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for inviting me.
My pleasure, really. And I'd love that as we play the beginning of a coaching session with Khun Tan, right? You observe what is happening that can help empower Khun Tan to go for gold, right? And so for that, you can scan the QR code or go in the chat box where Linda has put up a link and just share your observations as they come to you about what helps empower a client to go for gold. And let's see which flavors emerge. Then now, Khun Tan, thanks again. How are you doing this evening?
I'm feeling great. A little bit excited, but I'm still focused.
Okay, so that makes two of us, excited and focused. And before we dive in, is there anything you need to do to become fully present to our conversation?
May I take a sip of my hot tea?
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Great, thanks very much, Khun Tan. So I'm curious, what would you like to explore today?
Today's topic would be about my managers. The challenge that I have with my managers in this second quarters is that I have realized that my managers, they are still lack of the perspective that can help them make decisions in an organizational level. So to give everyone here a little bit of a background is that our company is a consulting agency and our specialization is on marketing. So we are consist of 35 people and we are already now at the year 7th. I and my partner, we start to build up our companies and our managers growing in-house. So our strategy is to really use we are trying. Yeah. I mean, it's been 7 years, so I didn't do it right at the start. So we start to build our managers, starting from them being a technician themselves, and then they start to be able to take more responsibilities in the companies. And right now, we are in the year that we are entering the stage 4 of our business, that we want to even grow and expand the companies. But what is holding back is that the managers, that they need to be able to go beyond their perspective, that they need to see their organizations as like a one big organization that stands for its own vision and mission. I heard a lot about empowering process. So I'm actually curious and want to dig deeper on how can I empower my managers more so that they, able to make a decisions on their own, and that they have their own strategies, that they don't always rely on an MD, which is me at the moment. Yeah, that would be the topics today.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kuntan, for sharing. And what more is important about gearing your managers with more perspective, perhaps to equip them better with decision-making capabilities?
What is more important than that?
What more is important in addition to gearing them with broader perspective of and seeing the organization as one?
Okay. I would say that it's not just the perspective, but the accountabilities on their position. And yeah, and I think that's become very challenging, because when you talk about the accountabilities, it's not just only about someone is responsible for something, but it's actually more about someone is taking their ownership to make sure that the goal is accomplished no matter what. And I think that's like the challenge to many managers or business owners who need to grow their organization, and they need more people to be a stakeholders who will work on an executive level to be the eyes for the strategies as well. So I would say it's going to be the accountability. Yeah.
Hey, great. Thanks very much, Kuntan. Thanks a lot. And can I share a perception I have, which may be wrong, all right? You'll tell me, right? Okay. So the perception is you explaining the situation to me mostly with your brain, Kuntan. And the hunch is to invite you to take a few deep breaths all the way down to the belly, to mobilize your whole body and connect with the opportunity you have here to reflect about. Would that be okay?
Okay, so you mean that I should try to bring the best out of my bodies to brainstorm on this, not just using my head.
Oh, I don't mean anything. It's just an experiment, right, Kuntan?
Okay.
Let's see what you've got to say once you've deeply breathed, right?
Yeah.
So what's coming up?
I think it has to actually be starting with me first, right? Like in many topics that we have been exploring the past years. So now when I come to you with other people problems, is this that it should start with my problem first?
I don't know at all, Kuntan, but you started after the debriefing speaking with I think. How about you tell me I feel?
Oh, yes. Okay, so this one is important. I feel nervous. I feel nervous when I have to think about how my manager is working and taking their responsibilities in a company right now. And I think these anxieties and nervous that I have, it could probably be because I have an agenda. Like I live and breathe my the vision and the mission of the company, since I'm also the co-founders, like one of the two. And at the moment, I'm seeing this organization is growing, and I feel like I'm still the person who making most of the decision. Yeah. So if you ask me what I'm feeling, I'm actually feel a little bit anxious.
Yeah. Where is that anxiety in your body? Where is it located?
I think it's a little bit around my stomach. Like I experienced a lot of stress, like even came out of some kind of, like a very serious stress health issues. But yeah, it's always that feeling, like somehow in my stomach.
And could I ask, Kuntan, what your stomach has to say about the situation?
Yeah, I think it's also a mix of like some kind of overwhelmness feeling, because I know that many times I don't let room for people to make decision themselves. So they kind of, it's like a loop that they then as a result haven't really been able to also try and step up. Yeah. So is that yeah, I think my stomach kind of telling me that I should I should take this risk. I should take this risk that to give away responsibilities. Yeah.
And thanks a lot, Kuntan. So with all of what you said in your mind, in your heart, in your stomach, right? What could be a truly deeply valuable objective for our session today?
So it would be how can I yeah, I want to use the word empower, because from the slide that you just show, it's very obvious that I don't want to be the woman sitting next to the person driving a car, which is something that I'm actually still doing with my managers. So yeah, how can I empower them? How can I empower my managers to be able to make decisions or to take more accountability? Okay, how can I empower my managers to take more accountabilities in the organization? Yeah, and yeah, that would be the objective today.
Thanks very much. I love that style. Okay, good work already, right, Kuntan? And so if we would do great work in that session that we will not do today, right? Because we will pause now, right? But if, assuming we would have done great work, what outcome would you have walked away from our session? You hope?
I hope to feel for sure less anxious. But okay, I think the value that I would like to take away, I want to I want to explore some part of me that is still holding me back, that it's kind of like obstruct me from giving my team more rooms to make mistakes. Yeah, I think that would be the most specific one.
Great, wonderful. Thanks very much, Kuntan. And of course, I would love that we do the session for real, right? But
yeah, sure.
Today's exercise. And of course, you're most welcome, Kuntan, to reach out to me later on, and we will do that session, right? But for now, we wanted to demonstrate that first part of the session, from the meet and greet until a valuable objective is decided by you for the session to come, right? And I can't thank you enough, Kuntan, for lending yourself to that exercise, and also for inspiring me with your determination in going to the root of what matters most here. Yeah, thanks so much, Kuntan. And if you don't mind, stay with us for the rest of the ride today. So if any one of our friends around the world have questions for you when we come to the Q&A in about 20 minutes time, you can be around. Would that be okay?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Charles. It's my privilege to be here. So I will be stand by, and I give this back to you.
Thanks very much, Kuntan. Thanks a lot. And now let's enjoy the observations of our friend about what helps empower the client to go for gold. And here we've got 134 input already. Cheerleaders, listening to them first, clarity as the way forward, trust, deadlines, self-awareness, clarify the challenge, passion and desire, create a safe container and demonstrate curiosity, be fully present, engagement, invitation to be ready and present, allowing the client to ground herself at the session start, create an atmosphere and ask what's needed to be focused. You really know, took note of that one, right? Or, yeah, what more is important about being true partner to the client and giving the client all the power to guide the session, decide and make their own observation beautiful. Oh my, and more and more. You know, I'm going to save this document and we'll find a way to make it available to you. Thanks so very much, everyone. There is so much more I'd love to discover with you. We'll do that later on, right? And of course, I'll join you on the platform of WBEX for a discussion after our session. Now, I'd love to do a couple of things. And the first one is to discuss with you how to best prepare our clients for deep exploration work. Because of course, that is critical to having them identify what really matters. And I'd love to offer very simple tips here. The first one is to make sure you ease your clients in the conversation and have them slow down. And one simple thing that helps is that we speak slow from the moment we thank them for being with us today, right? So appreciation for their availability and slow pace. Yep, and then of course, take a moment to connect with how your client is being, and then make sure that they don't have anything anymore in their mind or their heart that could prevent them from being fully present to our conversation. And that's why you heard me ask Kuntan before we start, is there anything you need to become fully present to our conversation? And Kuntan chose to take a breath and have a sip of tea. And once we have the client in that space of inner calm and trust and focus, then we can go on. And then the next step is going to be what I call the work we can do when we peel the different layers of Matryoshka doll, you know, which are used to illustrate the unity of the body, the soul, the mind, the heart, the spirit, fertility, and abundance. Yes, all of that, and the search for truth and meaning. And so we are going to ask, we are going to ask the client what they would like to explore, and probably they will bring that Matryoshka doll, and then we'll ask them what's really important about it, right? And then we'll see something coming, and then we'll go even deeper, and then we'll have something else until we get the gold, right? The gold, right? And then is the time to ask for a valuable objective for the session, not before, of course, right? So how do we do that in practice? Well, I don't want to give a recipe. They are overrated, as I mentioned before. I just want to give some ideas of questions you may ask, and then invite you to forget about them once you've practiced a bit that process, in fact, right? The first one would be with a reminder that you've got to speak slow, like you're asking multi-million-dollar questions. What is most important for us to explore today? and then listen for the key words that the client offers. Perhaps those words which relate to emotions, fear, concern, and then zoom in on them and ask the client to elaborate about those important words, or perhaps some words that you'd like to get some clarity about, like succeed or change or better, different, and then invite the client to say more about what this means in their world. Yeah. And then go deeper in the importance of the matter the client has brought to the conversation, right? Perhaps you can ask something like, how is this important to you, right? And that's where I encourage you to notice the emotions, the energy, the hesitations, perhaps, and ask what they may be about, because they are a link to what's happening in the inner world of the client. For example, you noticed with Kuntan, I had this sensation that Kuntan was speaking from her head brain mostly, and of course I was curious that Kuntan also connects with other parts of her bodies, and perhaps her two other brains, right? The heart and the guts, right? So I invited her to breathe deeply so she can reconnect her whole being to the topic that she's bringing to the session, right? I could have also used perhaps some micro emotions that Kuntan displayed, or some slight shifts in her energy, right? And questioned them, and that would have helped my client go deeper. We really need to go to a deeper level, and we can ask the question straightforward, right? At a deeper level, I'm curious, what could this truly be about? Yeah, we've got to reach the depths of who the client is or needs to be, and from that depth, consider the topic that the client has brought to the conversation, right? And when we are really deep, in fact, right, then is the time to ask for a very valuable objective, right? And then you with Kuntan, right, when her stomach participated to the conversation, right? And Kuntan said, perhaps she does not leave enough room to her clients. She really had reflected deeply enough about the topic. That was the moment to ask for a very valuable objective. And she said, how can I empower them, my people, right, to take more accountability and in the organization, right? And so the objective was about her. It was positively worded, and so that was good, right? Make sure the objective is about the person and positively worded. And finally, it's good as well to ask the client what they'd like to take away from the session. Of course, a lot will happen in the session, and probably they will take away something more valuable than they anticipated. Nonetheless, it gives a useful dynamic to the conversation, that we have a first idea of a possible end in mind. Yeah. Now, I'd love to invite you, if you wish to take a screenshot of that slide, right? In case you want to practice with this process. But again, please promise that you will forget about the particular questions I've put up here, and you will replace them with what your intuition will invite you to ask the client instead, right? And now I'd love to invite you to go to the chat box and click on the Menti link, and we're going to have a second poll here after the first one, to ask you this time, what can go wrong? In fact, what can make your job difficult when you go for gold with your clients? In other words, challenges to overcome as you partner with your clients to identify a very valuable objective. And there again, if you don't mind, also scan the QR code on the screen. I'll play a little music, so inspiration comes to you as you reflect about what can be challenges to overcome as you partner your client to identify a very valuable objective. Here we go. And let's see what's coming up here. Focus on external circumstances. Absolutely. That's so very often the case, right? And then we've got to find a way to make the objective personal and not about fixing something external. It's not in the zone of control of the client, right? Perpetual negativity. Yeah, and then perhaps that can become a part of the conversation. If you spot it and you ask permission to share that observation that the client seems to use at times some negative words about the situation, what could that be about? It can help, right? Me jumping to conclusions, being in my head, thinking about what should be instead of what is, right? Or perhaps what it's really about instead of asking the client what it is really about, right? And then client make it about others, not about themselves. Absolutely, right? It's very common. Oh my God, thanks very much. Again, super precious, focusing on the problem, whereas my good friend Marcia Reynolds has talked so well and so much about it, right? Coach a person, not the problem, right? Because then you generate so much more value. And there is more. We'll find a way to make your super important and precious inputs available to you. Now, I'd love to give perhaps kind of easy tips for three common cases. First is the client rumbles on and on and on and on, right? So then the thing is they still breathe, right? So after some time, jump in when they breathe and say something like, you know, I said there is so much more to be said, and I'd love to invite you to perhaps try and capture what's most important here, right? And then you will see the client jolt back and do the job, right? Perhaps the client exudes stress, yeah, and we cannot coach someone who is highly stressed just because their head brain is not working effectively, right? They need to cool down, and then I invite you to have them breathe deep and let go of that stress, right? And another very common case is when the client is really intense and speak only from their head brain, right? And then take the chance when you can to invite them to listen to what their heart or what their guts have to say about the topic. And in a way, with Kuntan, we did that, right? And it ended up the stomach had so much important things to say about the thing. Now, I've captured those three tips, and you're most welcome to take a screenshot if you'd like, if that can be helpful to you in the future. Now, I told you I'm going to talk about lions, and perhaps those I've mentored about you will laugh their head out, because in mentoring, I often say two things. You've got to be like a lion and you've got to be like a Picasso as a coach. So let's take care of being like a lion first. And it's a metaphor, of course, to say that you've got to find the juicy flesh for the conversation, right? Just like a lion will scrutinize the savannah and consider what can be the juiciest flesh, yeah? And then the lion, or lioness for that matter, will identify it and jump on it, right? Bear with me, I'll tell you the end of this story later on, right? It may not be so terrible as it looks for now, right? In the meantime, I really want to offer practical tips to leverage your client's energy shifts, emotions, metaphors, body language, or tone. That's the juicy, that leads to the juicy flesh for the conversation, right? And before you would offer that your client examine some of these 5 things, you've got to ask permission always, right? Because you're going to share something, and you want the client to be free to reject it or to make sense of it, right? So always ask permission. And then if you've observed an energy shift, you can simply ask what triggered it, what happened inside of you, right? If you noticed some emotions, then perhaps you can ask what message could your emotion have for you? Or as those tears are coming down your cheeks, what is coming up to your mind? Yeah? Or when it's about metaphors, then perhaps you can ask, is that metaphor could relate to the situation more directly, or perhaps to you as a person, right? And how? And dive into the metaphor. Body language, what could be that hand? What could that hand be knowing about if you see the client shaking their hand a lot? Or if you notice their upper body straighten up when they said something, then ask what happened inside, right? And then you take the conversation into the depths of the person, and that's what I call juicy flesh, right? For the conversation. Tone, your voice sounded steely when you shared whatever. What could that reveal about your inner state at that moment, right? And then you co-create so much more value. Now, end of the story with the lioness. It went like this, actually. So sometimes you will miss, but that doesn't matter because you will not have destroyed any energy, in fact, right? And you'll rebound on something else. There's so much on offer always. Now, I'd like to go for gold with anger and minimalism because it matters so much to the future of your client and yours as well, right? And of course, you can. I invite you to be an alchemist, yeah, as you set up your sessions for success and go for the gold, co-creating golden opportunities for your client that can really help them change their lives for the better. And I want to thank you so very much for being there, for your precious contribution to our poll. And now is our time for Q&A. As you prepare perhaps the comments you want to share, the insights, your insights into the topic of today in the Q&A box, I take the opportunity to say that there'll be a full coaching demo on February 9th when I have the pleasure to do a session, a full long session, 90 minutes for the full sales summit and more on how you need to be with your clients for them to go for the gold and embrace it, right? And with this, I'm going to be passing the ball back to you, Beth, so we can have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Jean-Francois. That was wonderful. And yes, we do have some questions to get through. And before I dive into those, we are going to launch a poll just to gather some feedback on today's session. And we'll leave that up there as we head into the Q&A. Tan, if you're still with us, I'd love to invite you back as well. Oh, yes, I can see you there. Wonderful. Okay, so first question came from Carrie, and she says, do you ever do a centering process with your clients to help them slow down and become present?
Thanks, Carrie. What a great suggestion, right? Sometimes, absolutely, when the client is all over the place. And perhaps we can ask Kuntan, right, as we did a kind of micro centering of the process, right, of yourself, right, through quick breathing exercise. How did that work out for you?
I think it's also depends on their personal experience, you know, like also the practice. For me, when I breathe, it definitely helped me slow down. Sometimes it's not always easy. it's not always easy that like it's not just like a couple breathe and then I am there. So when you ask me that what do I want to do to be fully present, I think that's a great reminder. Yeah, so for me that's helped me a lot to bring my awareness and to be, you know, remind that, yeah, this is the most important time for me. Is the, you know, that I need to focus and need to also be with myself, be with you. So the questions really help.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Kuntan, and thanks, Karin, for the invitation here.
Amazing, thank you. So Megan asks, what happens if this series of questions takes up more than half of the session?
Yep. Thanks a lot, Megan. I'm so glad you asked the question. And my answer is so straightforward. It doesn't matter. Yeah, because actually the client works so much, progresses so much on the way to identify what truly matters, that then the rest of the session is downhill, right? All of what inner knowledge they've mobilized to get to that golden objective will accelerate their work after the objective has been chosen. Megan, I hope that makes sense. It's my experience.
Yeah, really helpful. Thank you. Question from Louise. She asks, when the client is in a negative frame of mind, how do you go about the session or starting the session from that? When the client is in a negative frame of mind.
Yeah, thanks very much, Louise. Right, and that can happen a lot, right? It's important to give them a chance to connect their whole body, because their whole body is not negative, right? Maybe their brain is negative, maybe their heart is negative. The gut will not be negative. You can do that by asking what other parts of the body have to tell about the story, right? If that doesn't work, then you can ask the permission to share an observation, which is something like you're observing the client seems to use some negative words, and deep down, what could this be coming from, right? So because the main topic becomes, for a moment, the negativity. Yeah, and then in my experience, then people get hold of themselves, right, and shift because they realize that they're not going to go anywhere if they stay fully negative.
And one more question, and Tan, this one is for you. It's from Henning, and they said, hello Tan, thank you for sharing. How was it for you when Jean-Francois asked you to look outside your brain and focus on your feelings?
Hi, Henning. Thanks for questions. Okay, so I think I have been coached by I've been working on this coaching session with Charles for more than 3 years now, and it's, yes, for sure, not always easy for me at the beginning. And what worked really well with me was when Charles really created an environment where I can be very creative and pretty much be on like with myself. Like it's also maybe need to take some time, but from what I've been practicing when I have been asked to just get out of my head, I think that's an invitation for me to just be creative, like how I interpret this, you know, like and I feel that whatever I'm sharing with Chong, I'm not gonna get judged by like, oh, what, like, you know, like yeah. So when I try to say, okay, let's feeling my stomach, and I can relate it, like I can just tell him, oh, I feel the nerve, like the anxieties, or I feel pressures, like, so yeah, I think the key is to first maybe have the environment where the coachee is really feeling like they are not being judged, you know, like they can be creative. Yeah, so actually this is not just I think this is pretty easy questions that Chong asked me. I used to be asked lots more creative and more difficult questions, which is actually working very well. It's make me kind of go into this exploration, like, you know, being just navigate. Yeah, because that's how I actually looking for from the sessions, that I need to know what I don't know. I need to see what I don't see. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Tan. And yeah, a lot of coaches in the Q&A box were saying like that was a wonderful question to ask and could see a real shift, you know, after asking that question. So thank you also for sharing the observation from your perspective as well. We are at the end of our session today, Jean-Francois and Tan. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to observe that wonderful pre-coaching discussion and a lovely presentation to follow, Jean-Francois. Thank you so much. For everybody on the call, we do have our implementation mastery sessions. You can sign up for those via the link in the chat box now. And we have our dedicated post in our community dedicated to this session, where Jean-Francois will go and answer your questions in the next few days. So if you do have a question that we didn't get to, please do pop into the community and post it on that session post, and Jean-Francois will get to it. I am going to stay on and answer some full summit questions. Jean-Francois and Tan, you are free to leave. Thank you so much. It has been a really wonderful 45 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.